Right, folks, this is a new podcast from the two Mikes, and I'm going to give you old energy boy, MG, to introduce it.
Yeah, we've edited out all the nonsense from Mike Porky Parry, so it might be a bit shorter than usual.
Ha, 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 ha.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The two Mikes on Talk Sport.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, and you're listening to the two Mikes. We're in for Colin Murray this morning. We're asking the big questions as well. What on earth are the FA playing at? Sam Allardyce is on the brink with Sunderland, thanks to their ineptitude. They can't even search for a new manager without causing collateral damage. Meanwhile, over at Chelsea, the new manager wants to make Chelsea like a dress. Will it be a ball gown or a sarong? We also want to hear from Sunderland fans and England fans as well, of course, about the complete dog's dinner that is the England manager's selection process. 08717 22 33 44. Also coming up on the show, we'll have Watch of the Day, where Mike Parry shows us yet another timepiece from his vast collection, plus it's the Porky Quiz, and given the events of the day, it's on the subject of England managers. I'm predicting 4 out of 10. You're listening to the two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes in for Colin Murray, and it's time to say a very, very good morning to a very heartily dressed Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. Why do you say I'm heartily dressed?
Heartily dressed. You're wearing a long-sleeve shirt. It's
Yes.
very warm outside. I'm
Yeah.
wearing a short-sleeve shirt because
Yeah.
of the warmth, and I'm
Yeah.
just surprised that you're wearing... It looks like a very thick shirt you've got on.
No, it's not thick. It's just made
I mean,
of...
if I was Mr.
Yeah.
Conte down at Chelsea, I would
Yeah.
say you are wearing the wrong kind of dress.
Well...
in order to, make sure that your day is carried properly.
Well, would you mind not spilling coffee all over this one, please?
I'll try not
Could
to,
you do
yes.
that like you did
That was yesterday. Today's a brand new day.
Yeah,
okay?
today's a brand new
Today
day.
is full of brand new things to talk about.
Yeah.
And what I want to talk to you about first is Mr. Sam Allardyce. Right now, it's fair to say that you've been telling the FA for many, many weeks now that Sam Allardyce should be the man to take over from Roy Hodgson, right?
You're absolutely right. We'll get on to Mr. Conte in a minute, because he's going to be an interesting character talking about tailors and all that.
He's going to be brilliant.
But as for the Big Sam situation, the people who are going to lose out now are the Sunderland fans.
Yes.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, and also the Sunderland board and the Sunderland owners and everybody who's associated with Sam Allardyce at Sunderland.
But mostly the Sunderland fans, because they've had so many, mishmash of managers over the last sort of 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
They finally get a guy who puts his credentials on the table, saves them from going down when it looked like they were one of the favourites to disappear into the Championship. Yeah. And just as he's building up to the new season, and he has been thumping the drum for the England job for a lot of years.
Well, he applied for it once before, didn't he?
He's applied for it several times.
Yeah.
He applied for it certainly before Roy Hodgson. I think he even applied for it.
I think he applied for it when Steve McLaren got it.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I was going to say, and the manager before then. And so now the FA, whose main role in life, their purpose is to be custodians of the game.
Is that really their main role in life?
It is their main role in life.
Are you sure their main role in life is not to mess up football in this country?
Definitely not.
I think that is their main role in life.
Well, it might be the interpretation you put on it, but their main role in life
That's what they're good at.
Is to look at football from the grassroots, i.e. from the people who are playing Sunday morning on, on Wearside and all that, where Sunderland are, to looking after, the way that the professional clubs conduct themselves. Now, to snatch a manager away a couple of weeks before the start of the season is ridiculous. And why don't they do it now, today? Why is there any need to wait any longer?
Apparently, well, you know as well as I do, in fact, you know better than most people listening to this show, because you used to work for the FA. I mean, you were at one point, were you not, a press officer for the Football Association?
I was Director of Communications.
Pardon?
Director of Communications.
Oh, all right,
you know?
so you were in charge.
Communications is.
So you claim you were in charge.
Yes.
Well, anyway, if you were there now,
Yes.
surely you would be saying to them, look, why can't we say, as you say, get on with it much, much quicker? But my big question is, how is it possible that you go into the Euros, where already the questions are being asked about whether Roy Hodgson should be kept on for the World Cup in 2018?
Yeah.
People were saying already then, well, whatever the, is a good result, i.e. get to the quarterfinals, maybe lose on penalties, get to the semi-finals. Surely somebody in that conversation would have said, okay, well, what if we don't? What if Roy Hodgson has to go? What do we do then? They have no plan.
No, you're absolutely right. It's almost like the sort of the Brexit plan or the post-Iraq invasion plan. What comes next, right? And it's the what comes next which is even more vital than the doing of the plan.
But isn't that why you pay these guys very, very well, who are sort of, high-rolling, high-flying executives who are involved in the selection process for the next England manager?
The problem is, if you employ people like Dan Ashton Ashworth, who is the FA technical director,
Right.
who writes a report called, the Football Association English DNA about English football, then you run into problems because this is airy-fairy rubbish, you know? What you should really do is, and as a result of the airy-fairy rubbish, and you could tell from the time that Roy Hodgson stepped down that the FA were going to make the appointment of the New England manager a long, drawn-out business to make it look very scientific.
Yeah, but you see, that's where they've got it wrong, because they should have been doing most of the long and drawn-out part before we'd even gone anywhere.
I mean, why were they ringing up people, and saying, do you think Arsene Wenger wants it? Do we think that Gus Hiddink wants it?
Yeah.
Gus Hiddink wasn't really very good as manager of Holland. He lost to Iceland.
Well,
we lost to Iceland. What's the difference?
Should they, at the very least, not have had somebody to step into the breach in case Roy Hodgson decided to go suddenly, which he did?
They should have sounded people out.
And apparently they thought it was going to be Gareth Southgate, but of course they didn't bother asking him, because when they did ask him, he said, I'm not interested.
He said, I'm not interested, but I mean, he wouldn't have been qualified to it. I think Sam Allardyce is absolutely the right man. I think he should have been one of two contenders where Mr. Hodgson was appointed, the other one being Harry Redknapp, who was on the breakfast show this morning. I think this idea of trying to make it such a scientific job just belittles and ridicules those who run the FA, because it's completely unnecessary.
Exactly. Now, we want to hear from Sunderland fans out there, but we also want to hear from England fans as well, because here we go again, basically. We're going to have the same old story, the same old process. We're going to appoint another manager who may or may not be suitable. And
no, he will be suitable.
Well, I don't know that he will, actually.
Sam Allardyce is the best option.
That's another
Sam Allardyce is the best option.
Do you mind if I put the phone number out before you keep interrupting me? The number, of course, 08717 22 3344. The whole point for me about this is that the FA has learned nothing from the last 4 years. It's learned nothing from the previous 8 years. It is still a ridiculously old-fashioned, monolithic, organisation.
It's not actually,
which can't actually do anything.
Its structure, right, is not up to swift decision making, and swift decision making is what is needed now.
Yeah.
And as I say, people are justifying their jobs. These guys are going around saying we're consulting him. What on earth has Arsene Wenger got to do with the next England manager if he doesn't want the job himself? Why are you consulting him?
Yeah, exactly.
He's hardly going to try and help, is he?
Well,
why would Sir Alex Ferguson go out of his way to try and help? I find it all nonsensical. And what it means is, the men who are making the decisions don't have enough belief in their own decision-making process and their own confidence.
Do you know what the problem is? They are, in fact, the very sort of a mirror image of the England football team. England players go out on the pitch, they're terrified of making a mistake. The England organisers now, the FA, are also terrified of making a mistake. They're so frightened of appointing the wrong man and having no result whatsoever, maybe not even qualifying for Russia, that they don't know what to do. They're like rabbits in the headlights.
But Jose might have said of them, they're experts in failure in appointing a decent coach for the England team. Sam will be brilliant, and he or Harry should have had the job many, many years ago, because they know directly what English football players need to stimulate them.
Okay.
They know absolutely. It's no good appointing a man who doesn't speak English, like Mr. Capello, who had to, by the way, communicate with Steven Gerrard through shoulder nudges.
OK, now, hold on 1 second. Hold on to that thought. We want to hear from loads of you, and we will be taking loads of calls this morning right here on TalkSport. 08717 22 3344. This is the Wix phone-in on TalkSport. We send a £100 Wix gift card to our best caller every day, as decided by myself and Monsieur Parry, of course. Coming up, we're going to be talking Chelsea. We're going to be talking all sorts of things. We've got lots of golf for you as well. Second day of the Open is on, of course. Right now, though, we're taking your calls on Sunderland, on Sam Allardyce, and on England. 08717 22 3344. Let's go straight to the phones and talk to Colin, who's up in Durham. Colin, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, mate. Glad to hear you during the daytime. I'm a fan of yours during the night. But,
that's very kind. What would you like to say about this debacle that is the England selection process?
Start again. We need to reform. Get rid of the FA. For the last 50 years, they've been in charge of the decline of England football team from 66 to now losing 8 islands. And the common factor are the grey old men, the FA Council, who've taken us out of Europe twice in a week. And we need to start again.
You can't start again, Col. I'm sorry. I mean, it's a nice idea, but the structure is there. What it needs is slimlining, and what they need to do is appoint people, proper people, who can make decisions. Not appoint committees, not produce reports which say the DNA of English football, which means absolutely nothing, and not people who decide to build, an elite training centre for English football in the middle of nowhere that nobody uses, St George's Park.
That's what I was going to get onto, if you'd let me. Thank you. I was going to say we need to get someone like who knows football, who can't be bought, someone like Lord Sugar, who knows how to run a business effectively. We need a technical director, Glenn Hoddle. We need to get rid of the FA Council now. has any one of those FA councilmen who've been in charge for many years, most of them have been there for 20, 25 years, they've had expense accounts, they've had free FA Cup tickets, they've had free Phoebe's across the world. Has anyone ever, one of those FA councilmen, ever gone on the radio and explained themselves to yourselves of what they've done over the last...
Well, some of them have given interviews, and some of them have come out with various, gems of wisdom.
People.
But I mean, one of the guys involved in the selection process himself, did he not, after the Euro, say, "I don't know very much about it, I'm not a football expert."
That's Mr. Glenn.
Well, exactly. That's understandable. Look, we know we've appointed bad managers and not appointed good managers. We've had great managers, Brian Clough through to Harry Redknapp, who haven't been in charge, and we've taken on Ron Greenwood to Roy Hodgson. The complete disaster. Let's start again. Please, guys, come on. We can't do worse than we are now. Let's have someone like Alan Sugar, Glenn Hoddle, have a formulated plan for developing English players.
Have you got any suggestions, Colin, outside of Tottenham, by the way?
No, because I'm Tottenham's call.
I'm just asking. It's a great call, though. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, Glenn Hoddle's had his chance, by the way.
Well, exactly. I mean, Lord Sugar very possibly. He knows a thing or two about football.
Oh, yeah. Well, he made a profit out of Spurs in the days when you couldn't make profit out of football. Yeah. Lord Sugar would be excellent to take a hold of it. But
well, I think also he doesn't suffer fools gladly.
He doesn't. Would he commit 2 or 3 years to it, though? Because that's how long it would take to shake it around.
I don't know. But at least these are the kind of people should be asking for.
Definitely.
Let's talk to Andy up in Sunderland as well. Andy, very good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Mike.
Yeah, Andy, what would you like to say?
I'm just in total agreement with you guys that the FA is just a bit of a shambles. If the Sunderland finally get a decent manager to build a platform to then go on and build it for the future, and the FA have just basically poached them from us, leaving it until was it 3 weeks from the beginning of the season?
Yes.
We've basically had the pre-season planned since the end of last season, and all of that is just up in smoke now.
I mean, if you're sitting at the Sunderland, if you're sitting as a fan at Sunderland, or if you're sitting even on the board of Sunderland, you can't do anything at the moment, can you? You're kind of paralysed.
No, exactly. Like even signings such as we've been linked with Sacco from West Ham. I'm sure he's wanting to link up with Big Sam again, and it's going to affect the signings like that.
Well, Andy, you're being treated disgracefully at the moment because your manager is not going back to join the club and the team and the players on their pre-season tour in Austria. And that is most unusual in a pre-season situation. So it means he's on hold to take the England job. Well, the only people who are losing out on this are you Sunderland fans. It's a bit of a disgrace.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know Sam's apparently came back to try and push forward all the transfer activity.
Well, is he really?
Yeah, apparently.
Well, you can do that on a mobile phone in Austria, you know.
Well, you can do. You absolutely can do.
Yeah.
Well, Andy, listen, it's a terrible situation for your Sunderland fans. Thanks very much for your call. Don't forget, we will be awarding £100 a Wix gift card to the best caller of the day. But maybe I'll give you the privilege of picking it, actually, Porky.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You can feel as if you've actually achieved something today. Yeah. Let's talk to Ross, who's a Sunderland fan as well. Ross, very good morning to you.
Morning, lads. How you doing?
Yeah, very well, mate. What would you like to say?
Well, I agree with a lot of things what the last caller was saying, how the club's being treated by the FA at the minute. And it's appalling. But I'm furious at Sunderland as well. Everyone's saying we had a plan in place, got a manager in, long-term plan. We didn't safeguard or try to safeguard Allardyce by slapping a 5-year contract in front of him at the end of last season. There was always the possibility that Hodgson wasn't going to stay as England manager.
Yeah. And what happens, by the way, Ross, if, for example, Allardyce, for one reason or another, doesn't get the England job and decides he wants to stay at Sunderland after all of this kind of, uncertainty, what happens then?
Well, we can't say anything. I mean, to put Allardyce down, he's always made his intention to claim out the England job. But we are going to feel slightly like, well, he's here because the England job, FA didn't give him it.
Right. Absolutely right. Listen, it's not a great line, Ross, but listen, thanks very much indeed for your call. We're going to take loads more of your calls throughout the show, of course. 08717 223344. Matt is in Kingston. Hello, Matt. Very good morning.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Yeah, very
well. What would you like to say?
Yeah, my point is Sam Allardyce the best option, or is he the easy option? Because I think if you were to ask most fans...
Well, I think he's the only option, isn't he?
Well, I think if you were to ask most fans to give their top 5 candidates, and they don't have to be English, I don't think Allardyce would feature.
Well, who would you want? Who would you want? Who do you think's better? Who do you think's got a more sensible, realistic approach to the job? An Englishman in charge of an England team knows how English players think in the Premiership. Who would you give it to?
I don't think he has to be English. One of my top choices would be Jurgen Klinsmann.
Rubbish. Utter rubbish. What has Jurgen Klinsmann ever done as an international manager?
He started off with Germany. He just come now as his assistant.
What's he done in the last 10 years?
To us.
What has he done in the last 10 years? OK, he helped Germany come back a bit and put them back on their feet in 2006. Then he pushes off to the west coast of America. And for some time he was managing in Europe but living in America. Then he manages things in America. He hasn't done anything.
What's wrong with going to America?
Yeah, because he hasn't done anything. He hasn't achieved anything. And when you're working in America, you're not working in the white-hot bowl of European football, which is where it all happens.
Well, I don't know about that. I think you're being slightly unfair. Matt, thanks very much indeed for your call. We will take loads more of your calls, of course. 08717 2233 44. We are the two mics in for Colin Murray on TalkSport with Wix. Smart up your decking. Right now, there's 4 for the price of 3 on all value deck board. The new Wix catalogue is out now with hundreds of new products and the brands you love. It's got everything you need to do your project right. Don't forget, you can use free 1-hour click and collect at Wix to get everything you need for your DIY projects. Order online and collect from your local store within 1 hour. We are the two mics in for Colin Murray right here on TalkSport. This is the Wix phone-in, of course, and we'll send a £100 Wix gift card to our best caller every day. The competition, of course, to that is still open, because we'll take loads more of your calls coming up very, very shortly. The number 08717 22 Right now, though,
hey,
we're
listen,
going
just
to talk
before you go back to the calls and all that, talk to Mickey Gray. We've got a guest on later on who won £1 million from the results of the Euro final.
Really?
Nominating the right goal scorer.
What, somebody like me who predicted Portugal would win?
Oh, no, nobody like you, mate. Somebody actually put his money where his mouth is and won £1 million.
Well, you know, I'm not really a betting man. Now, let's talk to Mickey Gray, who, of course, former Sunderland and England player himself, to find out what he makes of this debacle that is going on with Mr. Allardyce and the FA. Mickey, very good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. You okay?
Yeah,
Mickey,
very well
very good.
indeed. Now, we're not going to keep you too long, because I know you're off on a very, very important mission somewhere to do with the golf course, so I don't want to say too much more about that. But, I mean, what is going on with Sam Allardyce? Is he being sort of a bit coy about whether he wants to go to England? Is he hanging out for more money? What are you hearing?
Well, look, I think I'm just reading into the same as what you two guys probably have and everybody else is, that he's flew back from pre-season, he's had a chat with the FA. He's put his resume in again, I think, like he did 10 years ago. Hopefully they had all the right apparatus for him this time to show them what he can do. But I'd be disappointed, really, if he left Sunderland, because I wanted to stay out the job that he started, which he started off fantastically, and he's kind of got everybody on side. But if you're looking for the next England manager, I think you can't look any further than Sam. But if I'm brutally honest with you, I think the problems lie deeper than just a manager. I think the players need a lot more help than just one man.
Yeah, well, Mickey, the point is, I totally agree with you. Sam Allardyce is pragmatic. He's practical. He's sensible. He looks at players. If Jurgen Klinsmann came here, what does Jurgen Klinsmann know about the inside workings of the brain of a footballer?
This is not about Jurgen Klinsmann.
It is about Jurgen Klinsmann, because to the smart asses, I would say, within football philosophy, they say Jurgen Klinsmann's a more glamorous and exotic man than Sam Allardyce. They say Sam Allardyce is a man from the Midlands. He's a bit gruff. He's a bit heavy. He plays the long ball. It's utter rubbish. He's the best man for the job, and Mickey, I have to say, I'm very sorry that Sunderland are going to have to make the sacrifice, but that's down to the FA not getting on with the job that they should have got on with many, many years ago, and in the wake, Mickey, of the debacle at the last Euro Championship. So you're going to have to, I'm afraid, give up your manager.
Right, you got your point across pretty well. No, I think, basically, I mean, looking from the outside in, I think the FA have obviously got a short list of managers who they want to speak to, and Sam Allardyce was certainly one of them. And I think over the next maybe week or so, we're going to probably find out that it's probably going to be him. I think there's a big percentage. I think the bookmakers have got him as favourite as well. But, look, if you're looking for a man who is going to get the best out of the group of players that he's going to be picking on a regular basis for England, he's the one. You know, he earns respect. He's worked at a lot of clubs. He's got huge experience. people might say that he hasn't worked at a top club. I think everybody will agree with that, but...
I don't. West Ham?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, Mickey. I mean, is there a difference, for example, in the players that he's worked with and some of the players who are in the England squad who you might consider to be, slightly more full of themselves, if you like?
Not at all. I think when you're a manager, and certainly manager of your country as well, I think you earn that respect straight away. He'll go into the room with the players that he picks with his first squad, if it is Sam Allardyce, and he'll tell them his ways, he'll tell them exactly what he expects from them. But I think, it's more than being a manager. I think you have to be a psychologist, you have to end up being their father, because he's literally going to have these players for 5 days. That's basically what it is before you get to a big tournament like the European Championships or the World Cup, hopefully, fingers crossed, in 2 years' time. And he's done it. He knows all the scientific stuff in the background as well. He's worked with that for many, many years. He started it at Bolton Wanderers. He's ahead of everybody in that field. And I think that's what our England players need. And yeah, we know they've got talent, but for some reason we freeze on the big stage, and we have to try and stop that somehow.
Mickey, would you support Sam Allardyce when he makes soundings about defending long ball play?
100%. I mean, we've tried playing football over the last 56 years, and look where that's got us. It's been absolutely appalling to watch, and there's no other word for it. Right. We watched the European Championships. Everybody was there. And look, players don't go, and of course they're going to try. They give everything that they've got. But the fear factor is there within every single player who puts on that England shirt, certainly at the European Championships, and that's why we're failing. We've got to try a different formula, a different system, and Sam Allardyce has got every single part of that.
Yeah. OK. Mickey, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks,
Enjoy
Mickey.
the rest of your day. We're going to talk to Richard now, who's a West Ham fan who might have a slightly different view.
Yeah.
Because, of course, West Ham took the view that Sam Allardyce wasn't the way forward.
Not sophisticated enough.
Not sophisticated enough, and you'd have to say they got that right, because Slaven Bilic has been a lot better. Richard, a very good morning to you.
Hi there.
Yeah, what would you like to say about Mr Allardyce?
It was great to get us back up in the Premiership, but after that, no good. I can't believe we're even considering him for the England job. All he ever does is saves team from the brink of relegation, can't do anything with them next year, so they get rid of him. There's a reason he's managing the teams at the bottom.
Yeah.
Because no one at the top wants him.
Yeah. Rich, don't you think that one of the qualities Sam has is he can motivate players very, very quickly? And if you've only got players for 5 days and you go in and you tell them quite straightforwardly what your role is, what your job is, what I want you to do, and then you motivate them. He does motivate players. He motivated the West Ham players to get back into the Premier League. He motivated the Sunderland players not to go down. That's the sort of guy we need for England.
After that, he couldn't do much with them. You're talking at a different level there.
No, you're not.
Team, I honestly do not believe for 1 second that the England team lacked motivation or passion. They wanted to win. They were just abysmally lacking in any direction.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you're right, Richard.
And there's no West Ham fan in the world that will tell you that Sam Allardyce had great tactical know-how. He didn't.
Yeah, but Rich, you've got to remember...
completely lacking, I've got to tell you this, completely lacking in play management as well.
Yeah, but Rich, you've got to remember that...
in a tournament.
When Sam was dealing with a group of players at both West Ham and Sunderland, they weren't the greatest players in this country. He's now going to be able to bring his talents and his skills, his motivationary ability to the best players we have in this country. And that's he's never been given the big club that I think he should have been given with the best players.
Well, I think Richard's right, though, Mr Parry, because what he's saying is it's not about just motivating players.
Yes.
The players who play for England were not unmotivated. They just weren't any good.
No, that's wrong.
They were not coached. They were not coached properly.
No, they were very good, but they were not told what their job was. They weren't coached properly, but they were very, very good players. Sam has never... the nearest he came to managing a big club was Newcastle. Mike Ashley took over after 24 games. Sam was out. But Sam said to himself, and people laughed at him and derided him and said, I could do Barcelona, I could do Real Madrid. I believe he could, because I regard Sam as a big man.
I don't think he could be. I just don't think
don't call me an idiot.
You call
He's
me
a
an idiot
big
all the
man.
time.
He's
Richard,
a big man with a big personality.
Do you mind if I just thank our caller?
Of course.
Richard, thank you very much indeed for putting up with all of that shouting. Mr Parry and I will be here, of course, for the next 2 hours. We've got to talk about an awful lot of stuff. Why the FA being criticised for actually headhunting successful managers and exercising due diligence, says Martin. Surely the only person putting things on hold is Big Sam. If he's really committed to Sunderland, wouldn't he force an ultimatum? And then he says, should we talk about poor old David Moyes, whose life is currently on hold, while Sam chooses if he really wants to be at Sunderland?
Well,
is David Moyes likely to get that job?
Oh, I don't know. He might be offered the job. David Moyes' life is on hold because David Moyes has chosen to put his life on hold at the moment because he is waiting for a very attractive opportunity to get back into football management. He has been back in football management. He bravely went over to Spain and tried to get it together there. Didn't have a lot of success, but nevertheless he stuck his head above the parapet. Now, if Sam goes from Sunderland, you couldn't think of a more suitable candidate, could you?
Well, we might ask Sunderland fans that question because they may have somebody else in mind. This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mites in for Colin Murray, and Mika says this on Twitter. You can tweet us, of course, at the Two Mites. Porky, Sam Allardyce is overrated. He took over Sunderland in October and only just kept them up with 3 days to go. And he says, hashtag anyone but Sam.
Somebody else's squad.
Here's one from Dom, who says, as a Sunderland fan, I would like Pellegrini, but we'll probably end up with Roberto Martinez. Will be interesting if it turns out that the two guys in line for the job are both Everton rejects, eh?
Yeah, well, they're not Everton rejects, actually. They're Everton managers who've moved on.
Well, no, they're Everton rejects. Roberto Martinez was fired, was he not?
Roberto was fired, yeah.
So he
moved on. And he moved on, yeah.
All right. Let's take a couple more calls on this. Raymond is a Chelsea fan. Raymond, very good morning to you. Are you there, Raymond?
No, he's not.
Raymond's not there. Let's talk to James instead. James, are you there?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Very good morning, James. What would you like to say?
Well, basically, I'm a big Newcastle fan, and Sam Allardyce wasn't really a big fan of him when he was managing Newcastle, but I think over the past couple of years, he's got better tactically as a manager, particularly where they were when he took over and the turnaround he did. I think he would be well suited to the England job. I think he's very tactically aware, and I think he'd do well for the team.
Okay, well, those qualities include, persuasion sometimes to play a long ball. Now, the thing is, James, that if Glenn Hoddle plays a long ball, it's a magical pass. If Sam Allardyce tells somebody to punt a ball up to Andy Carroll, it's a long ball. There's no difference, is there?
Yeah, I think you've got a point there, yeah. I don't think there's much difference, but I just think that if you look at Conte with Italy, he's got his team set up very well, and they're very hard to break down.
Well, one of the things that was said James, about Conte when he was at Italy, and we saw how they played in the Euros, was that basically, he's drilled that team terribly well. And the one thing you could say about England when they played in the Euros was that they were not drilled at all. They didn't know what to do. The closer they got to the goal, the more clueless they became.
Yeah, there was no shape when they played. No. They seemed to be missing some kind of steel, and I think it boils down to psychological, and I think Sam Allardyce would get the most out of that. When you look at the departments that he's got, wherever he's been at Bolton and Sunderland...
He might also, James, which is a very important thing, he might know his best team, because clearly Roy Hodgson didn't. Making 6 changes from one game to another in a major competition means that, frankly, you're clueless as to who are your best players.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that Sam Allardyce would be a calming influence among the players. I think they'll respect him for the work that he's done. And I think with Roy Hodgson, he's been about and he's done some different jobs and things, but I think when it came to England, I just think it seemed as though he didn't know his best team all the way through, and he was kind of making up as he was going along. And
you're absolutely right.
I think the fans deserve a lot better than that. So I think he'd be a great appointment.
Okay. All right, James, thank you very much indeed. Here's one from somebody called Percentage, who says, tactically inept, no team structure or ethos, long ball isn't the same as direct play. We need something new, so why not Sam? That's a sort of analysis of the way England played, of course. And here's one from Adam, who tweeted in at the Two Mites saying, thanks for covering the England manager fast from a Sunderland viewpoint. It's not fair we suffer just because the FA are inept. And they definitely are inept.
I totally agree. Lee here says, just because Sam Allardyce hasn't managed a so-called big club doesn't mean he can't manage England. Just look what happened at Leicester. You manage Leicester, you can manage England. You manage Sunderland, you can manage England. I totally agree with that.
usually when I arrive, in a new team, I search to find the right position, for the players. And when I was in Italy, I like to say that the manager, the coach is like a tailor, a tailor that you must you must build a dress, the best dress for the team, and you have to respect the characteristic, the players, the talent of the players, and then you decide.
Antonio Conte has arrived at Chelsea.
He certainly has.
He's talking about tailors. He's talking about dresses. He's talking about how the team is formed and put together in a very artistic and cultural way. I want to say officially welcome to the Premier League to Mr. Conte. I think he's going to be magnificent. I think he's going to be cultural.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be stylish. And he's going to be very entertaining.
I think he's got one big problem.
Oh, yeah?
Well, he's got several problems, but there's one big problem.
What problem has he got?
He's not scared of the sack.
Well, why should he be scared of the sack?
Antonio Conte is refusing to live in fear of the Chelsea Acts. Billionaire Blues owner Roman Abramovich has sacked 8 bosses during a 13-year reign.
Well,
if he's not frightened of the sack,
then what's the point of being frightened of the sack?
Well, he has no motivation.
Well, no, that's not true. Because,
you self-motivate.
No, that's not true, because one thing you know, as we've discussed many times, if you get to the top in any profession, you will be fired. If you become a football manager,
not necessarily.
You will be fired.
Not necessarily.
If you become an editor of a newspaper, you will be fired.
No.
If you become Prime Minister, you will be fired.
Sir Alex Ferguson didn't get fired. And you have to say...
Sir Alex Ferguson is a massive special case.
Of course, you have to set your parameters by him. But this guy's breezing into Chelsea. A couple of things that raise huge question marks. I'm not scared. I'm not scared of the sack. I do not fear the sack. Well, I think Mr.
That's a French accent.
I think Comrade Roman Abramovich will think, well, you should be frightened of the sack because that's how I motivate my managers.
No, I don't think he does, though. I don't think he does,
point.
because I think that's far too obvious. Surely every Chelsea manager who comes into Chelsea knows that they will be fired.
Second point, he says it's work, work, work.
Yeah.
Third point, he says, and then fight, fight, fight.
Right.
Well, that sounds like Sam Allardyce. That sounds like people criticising Sam Allardyce for what...
Hang on. First of all, I thought, when I read
is.
that this morning, I thought to myself, well, there'll be one man that I know that will be very much in admiration of that statement, because that's what you are, work, work, work. You believe in working, and then doing some more work, and then after a while, doing a little bit more work just before the end of the day.
Yes, but I believe it should be allied to skills, and I have superior skills. And
superior to who?
Well, superior to a lot of people, put it that way. Now, I think he should have been talking a little bit more about the beautiful game, and a little bit more about the sort of football that,
I think he did, though.
Well, I don't think he did.
I think
he said at the end of the day, we'll flog my players to death until they get results.
Well, that's not what he said. Well, I mean, you have to read between the lines, right? Because don't forget, this is a man who's speaking English, and it's not his first language, right? But what he's saying is that he is rather than saying, it's all about how you kick the football, he's saying, rather cleverly, that putting a football team together is a bit like making a dress, because actually what you've got to do is make sure that it has...
a load of gobbledygook, isn't it?
Well, it's only gobbledygook to you, because you have no imagination and no romance in your soul.
I prefer Sam Allardyce.
The point is, if you watched Italy...
I like players to be practical.
Well, that's what's wrong with English football, isn't it? And that's why England didn't make the quarter-finals of the Euros, because of ideas like that.
Sam hasn't been the England manager yet. I expect him to make a dramatic improvement.
Well, I'll tell you what.
In the England performances.
I'll tell you what.
We've
got Paul here who says you've forgotten that Sam Allardyce has already guided England to victory this year. They beat the rest of the world in Soccer Aid when he was running the team.
Against Mourinho.
Against Mourinho, yeah. Now, coming up in the next hour, we want to hear from some Chelsea fans. I think the way that Conte talks about football is brilliant. I think it's cultured. I think it's highly educated and intelligent.
He's set for a fall.
And I think he's going to be fantastic. Mr. Parry thinks he's set for a fall. 08717 22 33 44. This is Talk Sport. Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the Two Mikes, and we're in for Colin Murray. We've been asking the big questions this morning. What on earth are the FA playing at? Will Sam Allardyce become the New England manager? And if he does become the New England manager, what on earth is going to happen to Sunderland? But in this hour, we want to talk about Antonio Conte, the new manager at Chelsea. Porky thinks he's in for a massive fall. I think he's going to be brilliant. We want to hear from you fans out there. 08717 22 3344. Also coming up in this hour, we'll keep you updated with all the news from Troon, of course, because the golf is underway up there. The weather a little bit inclement. Also, I'll be showing you Watch of the Day. This is where we look at the amazing watch collection of Mike Parry. He's got another one he's brought in today. We'll find out what that one looks like as well, of course. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport.
Just before we go any further, Mike,
Yeah.
it would be insensitive of us not to mention the shocking business that's been happening in Nice overnight, a massacre there. And do you know what terrifies us more than anything else? The terrorists find a new weapon every time they attack people, and this time it was simply a lorry drove into the crowd, knocking people over like skittles, killing 84 people. Absolutely shocking event.
And a lot of children as well.
A lot of children involved, and also it looks worse because it's in one of the most exotic parts of the world, where people usually think, we're free of terrorism here, you know, it doesn't happen here. It can happen anywhere. That's a terrible warning.
Absolutely awful, and obviously the news channels are full of it. If you want to go over to Talk Radio, here, our sister station at Talk Sport, that's where an awful lot of that is being discussed.
That's
of
right.
course.
Now, can I say about Mr. Conte? You described in the opening, you said you think I said he's going to go for a massive fall.
Yes.
I didn't actually say a massive fall, just to correct you, because where I think he's going to fall.
Did.
No, I didn't. I said I think he's in for a fall. I think he's facing a fall.
So not a massive fall,
not
just a fall.
Massive fall.
Well, what's the difference?
Well, the difference is this. You see, I don't think he's going to be a hopeless Chelsea manager, but because of the analogy he made with tailoring and pulling things together, and
Dresses,
I think he's approaching the Premier League more as an opera than as a waltz.
Yes, but I think that's what we love about Italians, isn't it?
Yeah,
they see
we
football
do.
as an art form, and
I
in some
do,
ways,
I agree.
if you watch the way they play, I want to go back to this thing at the Euros, where I can't remember who it was who said it, but one of the commentators, who's an ex-footballer, just said, I think it might have been Glenn Hoddle actually, he said that when you watch the way that Italy approach the game, they are very, very well drilled, particularly up front. And being well drilled is precisely what you need all these superstars to be, because yes, they're all talented players, as we saw with England in the summer, but if they're not drilled properly, they can't do anything.
Well, all I'd say in response to that is Mr. Ranieri managed to win the title, right? He's an Italian, and he didn't treat Leicester as an opera.
Yes, he did.
He didn't. He treated them as a rumba.
What did he do?
It was a rumba.
No, hang on, what did he do at the end of the season?
It was a salsa.
No, it wasn't.
It was a twist and shout.
What did he do at the end of the season?
At the end of the season?
Yeah, who did he have at Leicester at the King Power Stadium?
Well, he had all his players who won the title for him.
Who did he have singing a song?
Was it Placido Domingo?
No, it was Andrea Bocelli.
Andrea Bocelli,
Who does what?
Who does what? He sings.
He sings
He's a singer.
What kind of singer is he?
He's an opera singer.
He's an opera singer.
But he doesn't just sing in operas. He makes records, and he's a famous Italian man.
Yes,
that's
right.
got nothing to do with the way he plays.
For you to now say there was no connection between opera and Ranieri is incorrect.
No, it's not incorrect. It's not incorrect at all. Ranieri played rumbustious, the rumba. He played it with fast pace, and he twisted and turned, twist and shout. Okay.
Right.
He played it like.
Well, we all know what your musical knowledge is like.
His players were waltzing around defenders. He played a waltz. Okay.
Matilda.
Yeah, he played a salsa. He played everything, but he didn't play opera.
Salsa, you mean?
He didn't salsa. That's exactly what I said. But he didn't play an opera. Believe me.
All right. Okay. Let's take a call because Michael is a Chelsea fan. We'll find out what he thinks about the new appointment. I think it's going to be brilliant. Michael, very good morning to you. What do you reckon?
Hey guys, I think he's going to be very, very good actually, and I think he's been in a very lucky position because I think the likes of Mourinho and Pep Guardiola going to Manchester has kind of put him under the spotlight a little bit. He's gone kind of missing when he's kind of the same caliber as those two type of guys. He's very, very tactical aware. He's very clever. And the likes of opera.
How do you know all this? Sorry, my friend. How do you know all this? I mean, we don't.
Studied his form.
No, we don't know anything about him.
Yeah, he's won the title in Italy with Juventus
3 times, and as a player 5 times. Yeah, but Juventus haven't had any opposition for at least a decade. And what I would say is, that all we really know about this guy is what he said yesterday and his extraordinarily erratic tactics.
You mean all you know about
as a coach? You know, booting the ball away on the touchline,
That's great,
jumping up and down like a like a man on a pogo.
Do you mind if Michael speaks?
Yes, exactly.
He actually called in the show.
Michael, I'd like you to respond to that, please.
Go ahead, Michael.
I think if you look at the Italy squad that he has, none of those players are really fantastic, and he gets more out of them than the England squad that we had, whose players were a different level to the Italy team, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. No, I think he's going to be a very exciting addition, Michael. Not just because...
I think it'll be exciting.
Because, I mean, Mr. Parry here says that he doesn't want somebody who's all sort of style and no substance. But in the end, we are involved in a great theatrical league now, aren't we? With the likes of Mourinho, with Guardiola. You want these kind of guys to be here with their sort of extravagant personalities, don't you?
I think that's the type of people we want in our clubs, and that's the type of person that we need for our national team as well.
Well, hang on, you're saying flamboyance is, a great thing.
It is a great thing.
It's not a great thing if you're not winning football matches.
Yeah,
it rubs off on the players.
But more flamboyant coaches tend to win. I mean, look at Roy Hodgson, one of the most boring men alive,
I
right?
totally agree.
Played boring football, was a boring speaker, had horribly boring press conferences,
Absolutely right.
resulted in failure.
I totally agree. Who is the only man who's ever won the World Cup for England?
The man who's on, what, Sir Alf Ramsey?
Yes, he was very flamboyant,
Yeah, but that was
wasn't
in
he?
1966.
You used to see
that
Alf
was in
down the local
1966.
disco, giving it a
Well, hang on.
bit, trying to pick
No,
up a
there's no
woman, all
point-
that kind of
there's no
stuff,
point going
knocking
back-
a few pints
There's no
back.
point in going back 50 years.
He
to-
was the
to-
most
to
boring
compare-
man in the history of
Yeah, but
football. God
was-
rest his
football
soul.
was very different then. Michael, listen, really appreciate your call. Thank you very much indeed.
Mm.
The point about Sir Alf Ramsey is
Yes.
that, I mean, Bobby Moore was not a particularly flamboyant footballer.
He was very
But he was a
flamboyant.
fantastic player.
Win or lose, hit the booze.
Yeah, but the point is that,
That was
we're in
Bobby's mantra.
Yeah, well, now you can't have that mantra because that mantra is no longer
Okay.
thought to be the one
Brian
which
Clough?
will actually Brian Clough, also from the past.
Brian Clough was
Have
in
you
the
got any-
Ramsey era. You said in the Ramsey era there were no flamboyant managers. Brian Clough was the most flamboyant.
He wasn't a manager
He's
in
a
the
clown,
60s.
that goalkeeper. He's a clown.
Have you lost the plot?
I am Alf.
Have you lost?
I am
have
Alf.
you lost the plot?
In 1974, Mike, when we went out of the World Cup to Poland, one of the pundits in the studio, who'd clearly been taking drink, was Brian Clough.
Yes.
And he was lambasting
Well, that's
Alf
another
Ramsey.
decade on.
So he's lambasting Alf.
no, but
so
that's
they
another
both
decade on.
they both managed at the same time. The point I'm making.
All right. Porky thinks Chelsea's new manager's in for a fall, says Adrian.
Yes.
This means Chelsea will win the league now. Hashtag Porky Jinx.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk to you about your watch as well. Because,
yes, okay.
You've brought a new watch in today, haven't you?
Well, I didn't actually. You taunted me, and I said, look, I'll bring in one from my collection, okay? So this is my boxing watch, because it's
boxing
Lonsdale.
watch?
Yeah, it's Lonsdale. It's Lonsdale.
What exactly is a boxing watch?
Well, it's when I'm doing energetic things, and don't make any saucy jokes or anything like that.
I don't make saucy jokes.
When I'm feeling rumbustious and I go out and do a bit of sort of weightlifting and all that kind of stuff.
You do weightlifting?
Well,
how many pounds do you lift? This is £500 from the cash tills. About how many pounds you lift?
Do you know what I did yesterday? Again, I left £200 in the.
Oh, did you? All right, we'll have to ask you about that. Listen, well, I'm going to take the watch off.
Right,
I'm going to
okay.
take a picture of it.
Well, unfortunately, you don't have to take it off because I'm afraid it's snapped and fell off.
It's snapped.
It has.
Brilliant. This is possibly one of the worst watches I've ever seen.
Well, it's not.
We'll
not a great one.
We'll talk about this very, very shortly. It's Watch of the Day with Mr. Parry. He's got the most extensive collection of watches of anyone I know.
23.
So far, everything we've seen looks like a child's watch.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
This is the Wix Bonin on
is.
TalkSport, and we send a £100 Wix gift card to our best caller every single day, which is as decided today by Mr. Parry.
Yes.
So he hasn't given anything away so far.
Well,
but
we've got
there's
a few
still chance.
contenders.
We've got some contenders, but you can still win that £100 Wix gift voucher, of course. 08717 22 We've been talking about the new Chelsea manager, of course. I'll tell you what. Did you see what happened to Neil Lennon yesterday? He was at his first managing job at Hibs, and he got sent to the stands.
Absolutely.
He says he's going to appeal. He says it was terrible. He says the referee was more interested in himself than in the players and in the managers. But imagine getting sent to the stands in your first ever appearance at Hibs.
Well, it's not untypical, really, I think, of Neil Lennon to show the passion that the fans enjoy, but it does cause him problems. During that game, by the way, something I'm going to touch on later in the show, the Bromby player who scored after 17 seconds then rushes off to the corner flag and does the old dive onto his two knees.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I've been doing a bit of research on that overnight, Mike. 9 players have suffered injuries from doing that as a goal celebration. 2 in training with their own clubs, and they've scored in 5-a-sides.
Right.
Harry Redknapp warned about it in 2014, right? I've got the statements here.
Okay.
And yet still players are doing it. So a bit later in the show, we're going to talk to people about why these players do it and why managers don't tell them to cut it out.
Well,
They-
guess what?
they
We're going
injure
to be talking to a former physio from Sunderland, actually,
Indeed.
funnily enough, as we were talking about Sam Allardyce earlier, called Gordon Ellis, and he's coming up very, very shortly.
Indeed.
Here's a couple more tweets for you, though. Jimmy says this, to be fair, you say Conte wasn't speaking in his first language, but Mike Parry speaks English like it's not his first language either.
What?
Paul says this, Big Sam is great with the media, and I think that's just as important as player motivation and tactics. Capello and Roy were both not so, and I think that's important. I mean, when we were talking earlier about, how Conte is going to be perceived, how he's going to behave, how he's going to get involved in all this kind of madness on the touchline.
Yes.
I think an awful lot of that is now part of the manager's job. You can't any longer just be a very boring sort of monosyllabic, character who
What about Arsene Wenger?
But Arsene Wenger's funny, though. I mean, you see Arsene Wenger. Hawksby Jacobs have been talking about Arsene Wenger in France when he was commentating for the Euros, and he was appearing on shows. And he was doing.
Yeah, but he's a different man to the man you see in in the long coats, prowling the touchline.
Yeah, but he's quite animated on the touchline. He kicks water bottles around. I mean, you talked to Ray Parlour about Arsene Wenger. He's a very funny man. He's a very clever man, and he is not what you would describe as a boring character.
Well, I think there's two sides to Arsene Wenger, private and public, to be honest. We've got some reaction to the ridiculous picture you've taken of my watch. It wasn't my fault it broke and fell off my wrist. I now don't have a watch.
It's possibly the worst watch you've so far shown us from your collection.
But I did mention that I used it when I was weight training. Laura, in response to that, says, OMG, please stop Porky from talking about weight training. I'm in the gym at the moment. I'm going to fall off the treadmill from laughing so much.
Yes,
a bit
well,
harsh.
I mean, I think people are struggling to certainly take your watch collection seriously, but certainly the idea of you weightlifting is absolutely ludicrous. Paul says, Porky weightlifting, I didn't know a dumbbell could lift dumbbells. Power lift plank.
Yeah, I do appreciate these lines from our audience, because we like a laugh on this show where it merits it.
Yes, well, indeed. And we'll have a lot of laughs, I'm sure, when you get quizzed on your knowledge of England managers post Sir Alf Ramsey.
I haven't got a problem, mate.
Really?
No, not a problem at all.
No.
Right, now then, what I want to talk to you about, Mike, apart from the issues of the knees, right, are all sorts of things, including, do you think it's right that at 72 years of age, Mick Jagger is suddenly decided to have another child? And do you think he's responding to his old bandmate?
Well, I wonder whether that's the case, because, of course, Ronnie Wood has just had twins, hasn't he?
At 68?
At 68. So maybe it's one of those, anything you can do, I can do better.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly there was a time when he was a very competitive musician in the sense that, you know, he wanted the Rolling Stones to be a bigger band than the Beatles. They became that just because of their longevity. And they played bigger shows than almost any other band for a long time.
But funny enough, the one failure in the whole of his career was striking out as a solo singer. He wanted to be a Rod Stewart. He wanted to step away from his group and become even bigger.
I don't know about that. He tried that and it didn't really work,
Do you know what? He tried it in the 80s. I think he tried again in the 90s. But I remember in the 80s, when we were in America, he made a record called Give Me Just Another Night, Just Another Night with You. Have you heard that?
Yeah, I think I remember it, yeah. The way that you've... please don't sing. No, please don't sing. Don't sing.
With you. And
don't sing, okay?
It was a complete flop.
Yeah, okay. How about this from Kevin?
Right.
Lonsdale, another Sports Direct special. Must have been a job lot with the Pierre Cardin shirt.
No!
And the Fox Fantastic says, oh my God, horrendous. I see Mike Parry has been down Sports Direct. Maybe, because we were talking about this yesterday on Talk Radio, maybe it's in response as well to the idea that Bill Wyman is going to have his 80th birthday party and a kind of a big gala concert at the O2 in London. Maybe, because I think he must be a competitive guy, Mick Jagger, right?
Yeah.
And he wants always to be kind of in the limelight. He probably can't stand the idea that anybody else in the band is kind of going to take that away from him.
It's very odd. These rock stars have a different sort of moral code. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having lots of children by lots of different women.
Well, certainly he'll be able to support as many children as he likes.
Well, of course he will. But, for instance, I think Rod Stewart, who's now very stable in his relationship with Penny, they've got 2 kids. In fact, Rod Stewart's just moved house. He's just moved from a £7.5 million house to a £5 million house.
He sold that place with a football pitch.
With a football pitch, that's right. They're both in Essex, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
And he wanted to move closer to his children's school because he's bringing them up here. They're young children. But I think he's got children by 4 different mothers.
I think so.
I think Jagger. No, I think it's 3 actually. I think Jagger by 4. And you know these guys.
Well, he's got children who are in their 40s, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Jay Jagger, I think, is 40 something.
I think she might even be 50-ish. I think his oldest child is sort of 50-ish.
I mean, the point is in the sort of scheme of things, basically, you can be a grandfather now and, of course, a father, which is what he's going to be. He's going to have a grandchild actually older than this new baby.
Yes, he is. Yeah. Yeah.
Why are you looking so stunned?
Because I'm just working out. I was just thinking about your 2 families, right?
Why are you thinking about mine?
Working out. Well, because you always fancied yourself as a bit of a rock star anyway.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
You've always tried to live the rock star lifestyle.
There is some truth to that.
There is some truth
we
to
are
that.
currently on tour, by the way.
We're currently on
rugby tomorrow night.
Rugby tomorrow night.
Yeah, the Rugby Theatre.
By the way, there are just a few tickets left.
There are 1 or 2.
Where do people get tickets from?
Well, they can go to the 2mics.co.uk.
Indeed, they certainly can.
All right.
Right, now, I want to tell you also about a chap we're going to speak to later on the show. I mentioned it in the last hour, I'll mention it again. This is a man who made £1 million on a bet about who would score the winning goal in Euro 2016. Can you believe it?
That's a very, very
He's
good...
made £1 million.
But also a very unusual bet, because I don't think anyone could have predicted that would happen, that the guy would come on as a substitute.
I was going to say.
And then win.
That the goal scorer would even be on the pitch.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely
quite right.
amazing. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics in for Colin Murray, of course. We've got lots going on, including the Porky Quiz coming up a little bit later on, which is on England managers since Sir Alf Ramsey. I'm going to be predicting about 4 out of 10 on that one. By the way, you know you've been having some interesting sort of tiffs with Liam Gallagher over the course of the last few weeks, really, ever since you got into a Twitter spat with him.
Yes.
His people have said that he's not interested in doing an interview at the moment, partly because, he hasn't got anything to promote. But actually, I saw a story yesterday which suggested that his Pretty Green fashion label is actually doing a bit better this year than it has done in the past. For the last couple of years,
great in the past.
Well, the last couple of years, he's been making a loss.
Oh, really?
Apparently, for the first time, he is now declaring that he's had a few years of struggle, but now finally it's all coming together. Made a £1.9 million loss the year before last. He's now made a £114,000 profit.
Yeah, but that still means he's £1.8 million down.
Well, he does, but he's now apparently 1.5 million in the black. He's managed to open 15 shops, and he's employing 130 people.
Is this an internet venture, or is it shops?
Well, no, it's properly shops.
Well, that's a properly run business, that. That's a Mike Ashley type business.
Well, I mean, it's not quite as big as that.
No, but I mean, it's a retail chain.
But certainly what it means is that there's not just one shop in Cardiff Street. You know, there's all sorts of shops all over the place.
But the profit of 125,000 is about half of what Oasis would expect to earn in a night at a concert.
Yes.
You know, at a football stadium or something like that. Or perhaps a quarter, I don't know. They earn big money. I noticed, by the way, he hasn't put any tweets out since our Twitter spat a week last Saturday. Yes. Week last Friday, I'm sorry. So 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks today.
Are you sure you know when this happened?
Yeah.
I'm now completely confused.
No, 2 weeks ago today was the Twitter spat. But this morning, he put out a picture of John Lennon. And there's no explanation to it, no caption, nothing like that. But of course, we know that he is a huge fan of John Lennon, as am I. So maybe he's offering an olive branch.
Yeah, maybe so. We shall see what happens. But I mean, basically, they're now talking about other people. There's other shareholders in the company who include your good friend Mr. Joe Cole, apparently.
Oh, really?
So maybe you should talk to Joe.
Oh, that's amazing.
And get him to be an intermediary.
Absolutely,
They're talking about ploughing an extra 20 million quid into the whole into the business venture.
Well, I think that just shows that actually old Liam might be the front man for it in terms of name, sleeping partner, and businessmen are actually running the thing.
Indeed. Now, there's been a wicket in the cricket. Let's go over to John Norman at Lords. John.
310 for 8 Pakistan, and it is wicket number 6 for Chris Wokes. It was full, it was swinging, it was too good for Wahab Riaz, who's been castled for a duck, and England are roaring back into this match. 2 wickets falling in the over. Pakistan 310 for 8.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, here's another question for you. Did you see that amazing picture of Chris Froome running up the mountain road to get to the finish line? Now, what I didn't realise, as long as you cross the line with your bike,
that's right,
it still counts, right?
Yeah.
So what I was going to suggest, I know it's going to sound like a bit of a Porky-esque idea.
Yes.
But I mean, you know, when they've got trouble getting the cars up to, he had to basically run because the car was trapped behind all these people.
That's right.
Because there are as many as apparently 400,000 people on this mountain,
That's right.
Why don't they carry an extra bike on a horse? Isn't that a good idea?
No.
It's the sort of idea you would have.
No, it's ridiculous.
You would think it was
stupid
brilliant.
idea.
Why is it stupid?
Because they carry extra bikes on the top of the vans that follow them.
I know, but the cars. But the reason he couldn't get his bike onto here was because the bike was trapped behind all the traffic that was behind.
Okay, so
whereas if you had a horse, the horse could have got the bike to him much quicker.
No, it couldn't. The horse would have just trampled down the spectators who stood in the way of the motorbike that eventually forced Chris Froome to get off his bike.
No, he crashed into the motorbike. That was the point.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm saying. He had to get off, but then he tried 2 new bikes, you know.
Yeah, but they weren't his bikes, were they?
No, the first one he tried, he kind of borrowed from somebody in the crowd, and he found it's too heavy and the gears wouldn't
work. He didn't borrow it from anybody in the crowd.
The second one,
no. You don't.
So the second one came from his own team van.
No, the first one came from a posse of bikes which are brought along by the organisation, right? But it's not his own bike. He didn't just take it out of the crowd.
No, but they weren't his. It wasn't tailor-made to him.
I understand that.
Just follow, will you?
I do follow the Tour de France, and you clearly don't.
We've got a guest waiting.
We haven't got a guest waiting, but we have got Bob Bupker waiting. He's going to tell us what's going on up at Trun. Bob. Oh, no, we haven't got Bob Bupker waiting. We've got Gordon Ellis waiting.
We have indeed.
Gordon Ellis, who is, of course, the former physio at Sunderland.
Yeah.
And he's the man who's going to tell you why players keep
crash down on their knees.
Crash down on their knees. Gordon, very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning to you both.
Sorry to keep you waiting there, Gordon. We didn't realise you were there.
Yeah, but Gordon, thank you very much.
Nestled in the background. Now, I mean, since you're on, I mean, we could ask you about Sunderland. What do you think's going on with? We'll ask you about the knees as well, of course, in a minute. But I mean, what's going on at Sunderland? Is Sam Allardyce going to leave? Do you think?
Well, it's a good, interesting question. I mean, at the end of the day, I used to work with Sam many years ago, and he's a really good manager.
Yes.
And you couldn't really knock him if he does take the England job. It's a pinnacle in all managers' careers to accept they've offered it. But again, working for Sunderland for such a long period of time, you've got to put your heart out of the Sunderland players. He saved them last season, and now they're expecting the same this season and better things. So it's a difficult situation for Sam to take that decision of what to do, and also the fear of the players and spectators at Sunderland to lose them.
You're absolutely right, Gordon. Gordon, as in addition to that, and thanks for that view, I wanted to ask you, as a very, very experienced physiotherapist, last night I watched the Hibernian-Brøndby game. Brøndby scored after 17 seconds. The elated Brøndby player runs over to the corner line, jumps up into the air, lands down on his knees, skids across the turf. When a player's going to learn that they're in danger of completely knackering themselves by this ridiculous celebration? Knees are a very important part of a football player's physiology. Why do they do it?
Yeah, I mean, a good point there, Mike. And it's not something that just happened now. It's been going on for years. And again, it's at all levels within football. And even you see the young children actually mimicking some of it. It is a problem for a physiotherapist because you have enough to do dealing with the normal injuries. But when a person gets, we'll say, a grass burn, which is a friction burn in itself, it's basically a burn.
Yeah.
And that could last for a week up to maybe 10 days. And then there's a possibility it could be infected. Then there's a possibility if it's over a joint, that it impedes the movement of the joint. So there's lots of things around that. And it should be something, or should have been something that should have been dealt with a long time ago.
I mean, don't managers tell their players, don't do that, it's stupid, you could injure your knee?
But they probably also tell them, don't take your shirt off because you get a yellow card. But they do that as well, don't they?
Yeah, but surely players aren't daft enough to not realise that they're in danger of damaging their body.
Yeah, I think what it is, and I'm not trying to protect the player in any way, shape or form, it's the fact that when something happens, it's the adrenaline rush that goes at that moment in time, and I think half of the time they're actually not aware. What you cannot condone, though, is that when that person who's scored the goal, done the event, has this adrenaline rush and they do it, it's all the other players that join in as well. I mean, I've had injuries where players have actually jumped on top of them, caused neck injuries, lower spine injuries.
Yeah.
You know, and again, when you see them doing these back somersaults and so forth, there should be something within the game that says to them, yeah, I totally understand that at that moment in time, you know, this adrenaline happens, but we need to do something about it. And managers do. I've been in dressing rooms where the manager has sternly spoken to them, and I'll say that quite politely, about what they do, because at the end of the day, these players are worth an awful lot of money now, and it's increasing more. With the money that Sky's putting into the game, it's going to get higher still. So they're actually somebody that should understand that with them being out of the game, there's a lot of finances involved with it as well.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I've seen Wayne Rooney do it. Now, you know, that's pure sheer exuberance and all that, but as he's paid £350,000 a week or something close to that by Manchester United, I'd drop him the next game if he did it and say you're threatening your own physiology.
But isn't it part? I mean, Gordon, you'll hopefully know the answer to this. I mean, isn't it also part of players' kind of personalities that when they do score a goal, it means something to them. You know, they can't help themselves. It's almost as though no matter how hard you train them, they're going to go, I'm sorry, you know, I've just scored a very meaningful goal. I'm going to celebrate it, you know, without a care in the world.
Yeah, I mean, they're right. I mean, I've been in situations where the physio's actually gone to the manager's actually fined the player, and because it's something which is inherent within the player itself, it's just something they cannot control about themselves.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. We looked in the records here. Harry Redknapp warned his players in 2014, don't do it. We've catalogued 9 injuries, including 2 on the training field in 5-a-sides, where players have missed games through jumping on their knees and knackering. I mean, that's a very, very delicate area of the body, isn't it, Gordon? It's such a complicated joint, the knee.
I mean, when you think about it, and if we look at it from a friction, it is a burn, and it does take a while for that area, the skin to heal. Definitely, if it's infected, it takes longer still. But every time you try to flex and extend, bend and straighten the knee joint, it actually affects the length of time of the healing process. But you also get it when you lie on the back. You get lower back prop burns, stomach burns, and two or three things come from that you're not really focused on the game because of the pain.
Yeah.
But with most injuries with a physiotherapist, you can put a strap-in on it. But with burns to a skin area, it's very hard to put a dressing on an area that isn't around a joint, so it makes it even harder still.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree.
Okay, listen, Gordon, thank you very much indeed for taking time to talk to us, of course. We are the Two Mics in for Colin Murray on TalkSport with Wix. The new Wix catalogue is out now with hundreds of new products and the brands you love. It's got everything you need to do your project right.
On DAB, digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The pressure's on now.
Relieve the itch. Talk Sport.
Now, there's an awful lot of tweets coming in about your horrendous watch.
Yes.
Watch of the day, of course. This is our new exploration of Porky's, what can only be described as Porky's penthouse, because he revealed the other day on the radio that he's got something like 12 or 13 different watches.
20.
20.
I've got over 20.
So we're going to be bringing each a day a new watch in. Now, the one he's brought in today is a Lonsdale watch.
Well, it's an old one.
Which apparently has a plastic strap which bust and broke on the way into work.
It withered, I'm afraid.
I've sent a picture of it out. And somebody, there are lots and lots of people have actually found it in various places, but Becky has tweeted that she's found it in the toys and games section of Amazon.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Right? It's in the toys and games. It's not even in the watch section.
Don't be ridiculous.
It's not even in the watch section.
That's crazy. This is a proper. Do you know I bought this watch? Literally bought this watch in a gym. Right.
Well, people are suggesting you may have bought it at Sports Direct.
No, I didn't.
It's got Lonsdale's name on it.
It's got Lonsdale, and I think actually does Mr. Ashley own Lonsdale, the brand? I think he does.
It may well be the case.
I think he does. But I bought it in the gym when I was working out once, and they said, "Well, this is a proper watch."
What do you mean you were working out?
Well, I was working out. I used to. Well, a year or so ago.
What gym were you a member of?
I wasn't a member of the gym. I was in the gym.
Oh, well, they don't let you in unless you're a member.
No, you can pay for a day rate or something like that.
Is that what you did?
Yeah, it was in a place called Carshalton.
Carshalton,
which is Stockbroker Belt,
Were you told to go to the gym then?
No, what happened was that
Was it an order from Dr. Banner?
No, it wasn't an order. There was a spell of particularly bad weather when I wasn't able to walk, because I walk up to 20 or 30 miles a week. So I thought, well, I better get going. So I went in the gym and did one of the treadmill things and all that.
All right.
And I bought one of these because they said, well, this is specially designed for people who exercise. You see what I mean?
It's really hideous. It really is. And it doesn't look like most things that you own in the watch department I've seen. They look like it's like a kid's watch.
Yeah, the only problem with it is, of course, is that the battery ran out a long time ago, and I can't find anywhere these days that change batteries in watches anymore.
Why don't you go to a watch shop?
I did. They said no, we don't do them anymore.
Yeah, of course they do.
I think they were trying to tell me this is such a cheap bit of junk. They didn't really want to bother.
They want to take the back off because it falls apart.
Yeah, maybe.
Here's one from Bloom who says the only weight Porky lifts are the 2 gallons of cheap plonky heaves down every night.
That's nice, isn't it? People are sending in pictures of their own watches, and can I just say that I'm not really very interested in the pictures of your watches.
Yeah, but that's because you're a relatively self-obsessed individual.
No, it's not a watch fashion parade. It is because, once again, old MG said, oh, ridiculous, you're telling fibs again and all that. And I'm not. I have got over 20 watches, so I will wear a different one every day, because for the next 2 weeks we'll be in the slot on TalkSport, looking forward to, bonding with our millions of listeners.
Yeah, okay. Well, the reason that I don't believe much of what you say is that much of what you say is shall we say, embroidery of the truth.
Outrageous.
And that's why I've got used to the fact of questioning you and quizzing you when you actually make statements of stuff. And the fact that you've got 20 odd watches is already an increased number on the number you gave me a few days ago.
Well, that's because I went home and counted them after we had that discussion, and I thought, I wonder how many watches I really have got.
Where do you keep them all?
In my dresser drawers.
Your dresser drawers?
Yes.
Right.
Dressing table, as it used to be called. It's a dresser.
You've got a dressing table?
Of course I have, yeah.
Why?
Well, because...
Has it got like a little seat that you sit on? And
No, it hasn't got a seat. It's fitted into the bedroom, and it's got like drawers and cupboards and all that kind of stuff, yeah.
So you've got one drawer just full of watches?
Well, no, it's full of other things as well as watches.
Well, like what?
I've got a collection of different insoles I wear with my walking shoes. Yeah. Sorry, what do you think?
Collection of insoles?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a joke there somewhere.
Depending on where I'm walking and on what sort of surface, I have to choose a different insole for the cushioning effect on the knee.
What kind of insole do you wear to work?
Orthodontic.
Orthodontic?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell you, makes a lot of them. Those people who used to produce those wooden shoes that became very popular about 40 years ago. No, Skull or something?
Clogs.
Skull? Was it Skull?
Dr. Skull?
Dr. Skull, yeah. Dr. Skull shoes,
you buy Dr. Skull orthodontic
I do, yeah.
insoles?
Yeah, I can never understand.
Sure they're not for the inside of your mouth?
No, definitely not for the inside of my mouth.
Right.
Funny enough, by the way, we're doing this show this time next week.
Yeah.
Do you know where I'm going immediately this show finishes next week?
Where?
to an orthodontist to have 2 new teeth fitted in my mouth.
Get some more insoles while you're there.
Well, don't be silly. They're insoles of your feet, you idiot.
Yeah, but you just call them orthodontic insoles.
No, he's an orthodontist.
No, you've seen the time, by the way.
I think the insoles in my shoes are called something else. To be honest,
something else.
No, it's
They're
not
not Ronnie Irani's, are they?
Well, if they were, I'd be very happy because I know Ronnie has an interest in a company that produces them. So I hope he'll send me a free pair if he's listening.
Well, I don't think you should be on the radio begging for free insoles.
Well, why not?
That's appalling.
Why not?
Absolutely dreadful. Now, coming up in the next hour,
I think it's called inthodontic. Inthodontic, I think. Yeah.
I don't care what you think it's called. That's wrong as well, by the way. Coming up, we've got more from Bob Bubka. We've got more, of course, from John Norman watching the cricket. Loads more going on, including the Porky Quiz. This is TalkSport. Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the Two Mikes, we're in for Colin Murray, and we're here of course until 1 o'clock, when it's time for Hawksby and Jacobs. We've been talking about Sam Allardyce an awful lot, we're going to talk about Claudio Ranieri and Leicester coming up in this hour, and of course we're telling you all about what's happening at the golf up in Troon, and we're also keeping an eye on things at Lord's with John Norman. Coming up in this hour, we'll be doing the Porky Quiz, it's all about England managers since Sir Alf Ramsey, and we also want your thoughts about listography, which is where we have 3 favourite things that we like to explain about. And all you've got to do is send in your ideas. We've got a couple here. The 3 biggest lies or untruths you've told. We don't like that one. So give us a few more ideas. Hashtag them listography and send it at the Two Mikes. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. So,
I tell you what, amazing pictures of the man who is currently the world's most famous footballer, okay?
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
On a well-deserved holiday.
A well-deserved holiday, but the most amazing thing is that Cristiano Ronaldo is a single man.
Yes.
He's a father, he's a single father, but he's a single man. He is probably the most famous footballer in the world at the moment because he was the captain of the team that's won the Euro 16 competition.
And without playing in the final, really, because he was taken off fairly early on.
But it made him actually more remarkable in the role he played in the final because then he became a coach, limping up and down the touchline, and afterwards he lifted the trophy, and it, in my mind, elevated him above Messi, certainly at the moment. But anyway, the most remarkable thing about this...
with his mum, isn't he?
Well, I was just about to say that. You stole my punchline
Did
again. I was just about to say...
It takes so long to get to the punchline.
The most remarkable thing is this man could have any single woman in the world as company on a holiday in the Mediterranean. But guess who he took along to literally sort of massage his limbs?
I've already told you who he took along.
It's his mum.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. What's her name?
I didn't know that you were going to ask the question at the end of this
what's her name?
diatribe.
What's her name?
What's his mum's name? I don't know. You're
Dolores.
telling me.
Dolores. You see? Dolores, his
okay.
mum.
Right.
And this is in Ibiza, and he's on a boat. He's hired a mega boat.
Yeah.
And he's got his mum, Dolores, and his son, Cristiano Jr., and he seems very happy at 31 years of age.
Well, I'm sure he is.
To have them for company.
This is probably not his only holiday, though, I guess.
Well,
I mean, he probably takes his mum on one holiday, and then perhaps he takes his mates on another holiday, maybe a girlfriend on
Won't he have to be back in
pre-season
training now, like everybody else?
Well, you would think
so.
Maybe the Spanish season starts a little bit later on, perhaps.
Yeah, I think it does, actually.
You know? I mean, the other thing is that, you know, a lot of people do. I mean, I went to Mexico last summer, and I took my kids, and because it was relatively close to the United States where my mother lives, my sister came down with my mother for a week, which was lovely.
That's great. A family get-together.
It was very nice to have her, and she's a little bit older than Ronaldo's mum.
Yes, exactly.
And not quite so, probably not quite so mobile.
No, that's right.
But we had a lovely time.
It's great.
So, I mean, I think if you've got the opportunity to take your mother on holiday, I think it's the least you can do.
Yeah, well, I think you're absolutely right.
You owe your mother everything, don't you?
I think you're
without your mother, you wouldn't be here.
Exactly, you're absolutely right.
You know, so you should take your mother on holiday, but you never go on holiday.
Well, that's the problem. Now, Roy is being a bit cruel here. He says, that watch can't possibly be old Porky Parry's watch, it's only got one face.
Yes, I quite like that.
I think that's a bit cruel.
No, I think that's very accurate. More accurate than your watch, in fact, which appears to have stopped.
Well, it hasn't worked for years. I mean, I brought it in because I had to illustrate to you how long I've been accumulating my collection of watches.
Here's one from somebody who doesn't give a name, unfortunately, on the text, which is 81089. I can just imagine Porky as one of those jewellery boxes on his dressing table, that when it opens up, a little ballerina pops out and starts dancing.
No, I don't, honestly. That's
the sort of bric-a-brac you would have, though,
No, it's not. Those are for ladies' bedrooms, not for a gentleman, you know, sort of professional like me.
Okay, now here's one from Clippity Clop, who says, maybe next week's quiz could be the subject of watches under £10, as Porky seems to have plenty of naff watches to have.
That's a bit harsh. There's one here from from Gren. He says, I have 15 watches bought by myself or for me for birthdays, but nothing like this complete load of rubbish. Well, I mean, look, I'm not claiming it's a great watch. I'm going to finish my display of watches with an absolutely prime, sparkling cracker of a watch.
Are you going to buy that over the weekend?
No.
Oh, really? Okay.
I already have it.
Oh, right, okay. Well, we should look forward to that.
Indeed.
Now, you were commenting this morning...
Cristiano...
What?
Oh, no, I've talked about him, yeah, sorry, go on.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
You were commenting this morning on the subject of players moving, because, of course, what we're expecting to see over the next few weeks is an awful lot of money being spent by the big boys, you know, Chelsea, Manchester City, Manchester United, possibly Spurs, possibly Arsenal, and possibly Leicester players being, shall we say, cherry-picked.
You see, this is where I think old Claudio Ranieri is at a bit of a disadvantage.
Oh,
now, he's actually said that if Conte wants to go, he goes, you know. If Conte wants to go, he goes. Now, I can understand, you know, when I first saw that, I thought, well, hang on, you should be, you know, doing what Everton did with John Stones. What Everton did.
He's supposed to be going to Manchester City by the end of this week, by the way.
Who knows?
I haven't seen too much more about that since the other day.
Well, I have no information on that deal, but what I'm saying is Everton talked the situation round to their benefit last season by putting an £80 million fee on his head.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, Claudio Ranieri is found for the second time, because Jamie Vardy was we all think he was on the point of maybe going to Arsenal.
Yeah.
We now think that Conte may be going elsewhere, which could include...
Well, Chelsea, apparently, right?
Chelsea or Manchester City apparently are bidders. But the problem is, because their Premier League victory came so unexpectedly, there are release clauses in most of the players which are very cheap.
Right.
For Jamie Vardy it was 20 million, and for Conte it's 20 million as well.
Well, isn't it because of his age and because of the time that he's got left in his contract? I was reading today that there are 9 players at Manchester...
He's 25.
Yeah, I suppose he's still quite young then. But there are 9 players at Manchester City who have only got another year left on their contract.
Oh, well.
So you'd have to think that Mr. Guardiola is going to be sweeping some of them away.
I was going to say you are. But the problem is, I think, you know, we all love Ranieri now for the quiet plume he showed in taking his team to Premier League victory. And when he's asked now about, well, you know, how are you going to keep Conte, he said, well, I can't. I said, if he wants to go, he has to go. Now, the only thing I would say as a fan, if I was a Leicester fan, because Leicester play in blue, so do Everton, so I can sort of see a little bit of them in us. You know,
Everton got one of those weird away strips coming up. It's a green one or something, isn't it?
Well, no, the one that's, you know, slightly bizarre is black with the sort of orange trim around the neck and that kind of stuff.
I'm not keen on that.
Well, I'm not either, really, but anyway, it doesn't matter. What I was going to say is that we have the same position at Everton with Lukaku.
Yes.
Now, he's made it pretty clear that he feels that he deserves a bigger club than Everton.
But do you not think after his performance in the Euros, which was, you'd have to say, slightly erratic, because he scored a couple of great goals, but then some games just
first game he didn't even turn up,
didn't do anything at all.
Then scores a couple of goals.
And again, but you see, it's gone very quiet at Everton. The thing I can't understand about Everton is that while there's very little movement coming in, you would say, despite the fact that they've got this new billionaire owner. We talked the other day about how they're redoing the training
stands,
ground, but the taxpayers are apparently paying for that. And the only other thing you notice is that Ronald Koeman's writing a column in a newspaper.
I know, I found that.
What's he doing that for?
Well, he signed that contract a long time ago, and he is contracted to have to do it, I'm afraid.
But I mean, he was writing the other day, for example, about what England should do about appointing a new coach. First of all, it's got nothing to do with him, really. And second of all, shouldn't he be doing something better than actually writing a column?
I kind of agree with you. You know, I opened this and saw our manager's face, you know, staring at me from the page, and I thought, well, you know, how long does it take to write that? Because we have a lot of work to do at Everton, but I'm sure he's right on top of the job. I have no doubt about that whatsoever.
Right? Okay.
However, what I was going to say is, if you get a player who makes noises about wanting to go, my view is always let him go.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't, because Lukaku's come out publicly anyway, you can't take the stance that, well, we're not letting him go, he's not for sale.
Yeah.
Because John Stones never said a word publicly. He's a very, very, you know, decent young man at 21 years of age, when he was being, you know, no doubt about it, he was being contacted in some form or fashion about other opportunities in football. He didn't say a word.
Well, I mean, the Chelsea
Everton said, we're not selling him.
The Chelsea saga last season was going on for quite a long time, wasn't it?
Yes.
You know, one offer came in, that was rejected. Another offer came in.
Right,
that was, I think it was 4 offers in the end.
It was.
None of which were high enough for Everton to sell.
No, that's right. So all I'm saying is, if N'Golo Kante, who is a star of the Chelsea Premier League winning team, if he sees elsewhere,
Leicester.
Sorry?
Leicester. Or are you looking into the future?
No, Leicester, obviously. He wants to go elsewhere. And all I would say is Claudio has adopted exactly the right attitude, because if he started getting tough guy and all this, we're not selling him, he's not going, he's going to lose out. He's got an escape clause in his contract, so why not be pragmatic about it and say, well, he'll have to go, and then start looking for a player to replace him?
No, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
How about this from Mark, the Spurs fan in Luton? He says, I was in Disneyland last week, and Mickey Mouse was wearing a Mike Parry watch.
Oh, ho, ho. The old ones are the best
Very
ones.
good. Now,
we don't mind a laugh on this
now
show.
we're going to do listography when we come back very shortly.
Yes.
We've got some good suggestions. We'll pick one of those coming up. If you've got any more suggestions for us, hashtag listography at the 2 Mics on Twitter.
Talk Sport.
And it's in!
A diving header at the end of a 50-yard run.
From the root to the tip.
Talk Sport.
Now, we're going to figure out what we're going to do listography-wise very, very shortly.
Yes.
But first, an amazing story to relate.
Absolutely
This
amazing.
is about a man by the name of Damon Chick, who, of course, won £1 million.
Well, you say, of course, it's quite extraordinary, isn't it?
Well, it is. It's an incredible story because apparently, speaking to him a little bit earlier on and before the show, he was telling one of our guys here that he was automatically entered into a sort of a draw because he made a bet with a betting company.
That's right.
And because he predicted that the winning goal in the Euro final would be scored in the 84th minute, that was the closest to the 109th minute strike by Edda, who eventually did become the winning goal scorer, and he's £1 million better off.
It's unbelievable. Got him on the line now.
We've got him on the line now. Damon, a very good afternoon to you.
You all right, lads? How are you?
Damon, how does it feel to be a millionaire?
It's weird. It's weird at the moment to get my head around it, but it feels pretty good.
When did you find out? When did you get the call?
I actually missed all the calls and the emails because I was on holiday at the time of the final. So I wasn't actually aware I'd won until 2 days after the final.
Right. So what? You came home from holiday and there was a bunch of messages for you.
No, I found out while I was on holiday, my missus got me to go and take a picture of the snack bar menu, which is the point where I turned my phone off. And that's when I'd seen that I'd had a load of emails and missed calls.
Okay.
To which I then replied and found out I was a millionaire.
Found out millionaire. Right, now, Damien, you're an Aston Villa fan. Now, you put down a £5 stake on this with Bet Victor, OK? They have a £1 million goal competition. Did you know that the outcome of it would be you resulting in a millionaire? If you were successful. Did you realise the size of the prize?
I knew that there was $1 million at stake. I was unsure because I believed that you had to pick the first goal scorer in the correct minute. But because the game had finished 0-0, I believe that basically it was over and no one had won the prize. So I didn't think anything more of it once I'd seen that it was 0-0.
Right.
Until I turned my phone back on and then realised.
And also, Damon, with these things, normally when you're entered into a prize draw for something, you kind of forget about it, don't you? You don't You go. I mean, I
expect to win.
Yeah, I bought something the other day, and they went, you've now been entered into a prize draw. And I've completely forgotten what it is, and I've completely forgotten what the prize is. But to win £1 million, I mean, what happens? Have you actually got the money yet, or is there going to be a ceremony where you get presented with a cheque?
No, I've actually received the money. They've all been pretty good on there, and they've looked after me, and they've not messed about.
So was it like just sort of shot straight into your bank account electronically?
No, they had to sort it out and sort of make sure that the bank would accept it, really, because it's such a substantial amount.
Yeah, well, they probably thought you were a drug dealer or something. You know what I mean? I'd like put £1 million out. And what are you going to do with the money, Damon?
Well, I'm obviously going to do all the usual things. I'll get a new car, pay off the mortgage, and pay off my mum's mortgage.
Yeah.
And then probably take the kids to Disney World or something along those lines.
You're not going to make a small donation to the Aston Villa transfer fund, are you?
I mean, they could do with it the way things are going.
Well, I shouldn't if I were you, mate. Yeah, anybody who puts money into football might as well set fire to it, honestly. That's the way it is.
And what sort of car have you got your eye on?
Probably along the lines of an Audi.
An Audi. That'd be very nice indeed. So you sound to me like you're going to be quite cautious about it. You're not going to blow it all at once. You're not off to the exotic resort of somewhere like, I don't know, Tenerife. No, something more exotic.
Well, he was in Zante when he was in Greece when he won.
So are you on the way to Bermuda maybe for the holiday of a lifetime?
I would like to, but with kids in, so I don't think it would be the best time to go to anywhere where you can actually relax.
Yeah.
Holidays are not relaxing when you've got the kids.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, but the kids have the kids presented you with a long list of things they want?
Sure they have.
Yeah, well, the oldest has given me a list, but the 2-year-old, he hasn't got a Scooby. What's going on?
No, that's right. But
neither does he care.
He will have one day when he finds himself.
I mean, it's a fantastic win, isn't it?
An inheritor.
I mean, it's what you would call a life-changing amount of money, but it sounds to me, Damon, as if you've got your feet quite firmly on the ground. It's not going to change your life that much.
No, I mean it will, because you plan your life out and you want to pay your mortgage off and take holidays and things like that, and all that stuff that I planned to do when I was 50, 60 years of age, maybe.
Yeah.
I can now do tomorrow.
Okay, you say you're going to pay the mortgage off, but for £1 million in certain parts of Birmingham, you could get a very nice gaff, couldn't you?
You could. I'm hoping I might be able to get somewhere with enough room for a snooker table and maybe a bar.
Wow, that'd be great. I used to live out in Redditch, Damon.
I'm not interested in where you used to live.
No, right on the Warwickshire-Worcestershire border. They've got some nice country houses there.
Would you like to tell us any more about any of that?
Well, no, I'm just advising Damon.
Sorry about this, Damon. I mean, now that you're in a position to be speaking to Mr. Parry equally as a millionaire, feel free to interrupt him. Let me ask you one final question. You work as a kitchen fitter. Are you going to keep the job?
I've already quit.
You've already quit?
Yes, for the disappointment of my gaffer. Yeah, I don't think it was best pleased.
Right.
No. You start your own business now if you want.
I could do, yeah. I might go down the route of maybe a profit per sort of renovating properties and.
Oh, I see. Yeah, good idea. Good idea, mate. That's a good idea.
Sounds great. Well, listen, best of luck with it, Damon. Delighted for you.
Absolutely.
David Chick there from Birmingham, Aston Villa fan, won £1 million in a sweepstake bet. Absolutely incredible stuff. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. Now we have got, I think, the winner for the listography that we're going to do coming up very, very shortly. How about this from James? He says 3 managers from any time you think would be best suited to sort out the mess that is the England team.
I think that's great.
I think that's very good. I think we'll do that one. Thank you, James, for that. Do keep sending the hashtag listographies in, though, because we can use them on other days, because we're here, of course, on Sunday for the warm-up.
We are.
Quite a busy weekend, actually.
We are.
To be honest, because we've got to go up to rugby tomorrow for the next live show.
No, I hope you're not going to get out of control Saturday night after the show.
I'll be having a very early night.
Oh, will you?
I'll be back here for sort of 10 o'clock on Sunday morning.
Yeah, you had an early night in Glasgow, didn't you? When I had to get back very early the following morning.
Yeah, well, I didn't have to leave so early the next morning.
No, what time are you going to bed? 4:30 a.m. was it? 5. Yeah, okay, yeah. Do you think you might get to bed a bit earlier on Saturday night
this time?
Yes, I think
that'll be absolutely imperative.
Yeah.
Yes, don't worry about that.
You've got to be back here for 10. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I know.
It's 2 hours driving from rugby.
Absolutely no problem at all.
Okay.
Right, we've got lots more to do, including the Porky Quiz coming up.
Yeah.
And, of course, it's about England managers since Alf Ramsey. I'm saying 4 out of 10. Murky up at Troon. We'll be bringing you some updates from there in the next half hour or so. Hawksby and Jacobs coming in very shortly. We are the 2 mics in for Colin Murray. And, of course, it is Friday, so it's time to do the Porky Quiz.
Yes.
We've been talking about Sam Allardyce as a possible next England manager.
Indeed.
You requested that the quiz be on England managers since Sir Alf Ramsey.
Well, I think the committee actually decided on that one.
The committee?
The committee, yeah, the committee.
What committee?
Well, the committee of advisors that we have who, make suggestions.
All right, okay. Well, if that's what you think it happened,
well,
I wouldn't. Part of the dream that you had last night.
I'm not allowed to choose the subject because,
you
of
choose
course,
the subject every week.
No, because I know that I'm a specialist in a lot of areas of life, and it would be unfair for me to just only choose my areas of expertise.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I'll be stopping you from choosing the subjects in future. But anyway, here we are. I'm predicting 4 out of 10. If you get one of these questions right, you will hear this sound.
Yes, of course it is.
If you get one wrong, you will hear this sound.
Whenever you don't meet expectation, it's a sad day.
God, it's terrible to hear his voice, isn't it?
I thought you'd gone away, Got your back.
Yeah, well, now, so there are 10 questions. They have a right and wrong, they have a right answer, basically. It's not multiple choice. Question number 1, are you ready?
Yes.
What was Graham Taylor's last managerial job before he took the England manager's role?
He was manager of Aston Villa.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, of course it is.
Question number 2. Which England manager gave Gavin McCann his international debut?
Gavin McCann?
There's no point looking
hang
at
on,
me
hang on.
for
Gavin
searching for an
McCann.
answer. Gavin McCann.
Gavin McCann.
Gavin McCann.
Now, I have to admit, I wasn't even aware that Gavin McCann was an England international, so I'm going to work this out in my head.
All right, you're gonna take us a wild
right,
stab at it.
Gavin McCann, you're asking me which England manager gave him his
International debut.
That was Glenn Hoddle.
Incorrect.
No!
A sad day.
It was Sven-Göran Eriksson.
Sven.
Weren't you there when Sven was there?
Göran Eriksson. No.
Weren't you at the FA?
Terry Venables was the
Okay.
manager.
Question number 3. Which Everton player had the honour of playing under 8 different England managers?
My God. 8 different England managers. Everton player under 8 different England managers. 8. Oh, golly. Now, it depends how far we're going back here, because Alf Ramsey, 66 to 74. Alan Ball was then 29. It couldn't have been 8. Now then, hang on. I'm just thinking. Aloud.
I'll have to hurry
just
you.
thinking aloud.
I'll have to hurry you.
Sorry, is this all at international level,
I
or
can't tell you.
or including club managers?
I have no explanation
including club
for
managers.
these questions.
Right.
I have no explanation for these questions.
In that case, I know the answer to this one, and the answer to this one is Alan Ball.
Incorrect.
No.
A sad day.
It's Gareth Barry. Question number 4. Who gave David Seaman his international debut?
David Seaman's international debut, that would have happened in round about... Think aloud. Let's see, when did Arsenal win their doubles? They won them in 98 the first time, but in 94. That would have been...
Get on with it.
I think that would have been Bobby Robson.
Correct.
Hooray!
Yes, of course it is.
That's right, you got 2 out of 4. I predicted you get 4 out of 10. Next one is, which England manager has the best win percentage since Alf Ramsey?
Since Alf Ramsey, best win percentage since Alf Ramsey is undoubtedly, in my view, Terry Venables.
Incorrect.
No!
A sad day.
It is the man that you're always railing about, who was useless, according to you, Fabio Capello.
No.
Yes, it is.
Well, I find that astonishing, considering he was such a failure in the end.
I don't find it astonishing at all that you got it wrong. Question number 6. Which England manager missed an England friendly against Brazil for what he claimed was a scouting assignment on the Italians?
Against Brazil. Scouting assignment on the Italians.
Yeah.
I think that game took place in Qatar, and I think it was Wayne Rooney's first role as captain of England. And therefore, the manager would have been Steve McLaren.
Incorrect.
No!
A sad day.
It was Don Revie.
Don Revie?
No, Don Revie.
Good God.
Question number 7. How many matches did Stuart Pearce, Peter Taylor and Howard Wilkinson combined win as caretaker managers of the national team?
2 out of 3.
It's a sad
Incorrect.
day.
No!
They won none.
None?
None.
But Peter Taylor made David Beckham captain for the first
They
time.
didn't win any games. So that was a
Thought they
great
won
question,
2 out
wasn't
of
it?
3.
Right, you've got 2 out of 7. Question number 8.
Right.
Which former Liverpool and Everton player scored the first goal of both Sven-Göran Eriksson and Glenn Hoddle's reigns as England manager?
Yes, and I answered this one.
Dear.
He ended up at Hull, and his name is Nick Barmby.
Correct.
Yes, of course it is.
Woo, woo, woo.
That is 3 out of 8. You've got 2 more to go.
Right.
Which England manager selected the country's first black player?
Yes, that was the Nottingham Forest fullback. So that would have been, in those days, it was...
Why are you making ridiculous
Hang on. I believe it to have been Ron Greenwood.
Correct.
Hooray!
Yes, of course it is.
Now, you got the 4 out of 10 that I said you would get.
Thank you.
Now, can you beat the over-under, from my perspective, by getting the final question correct?
Right.
Question number 10.
Yes.
Who was Sven-Göran Eriksson's final opponent as England manager?
Good one. Well, it was in the competition, wasn't it? Where we went out in the quarter-finals again. So it has to be Portugal.
Correct.
Yes, of course it is.
This is the kind of excitement you get from Mike Parry when he gets 5 out of 10. 50%, which by an awful lot of measurements would be a fail in any other situation. But the idea that you're so happy about getting half the questions right is extraordinary. But not a bad performance from you, because you normally only go about... Last week's, you only got 1.25 out of 10. No. And of course, 5 out of 10 is almost as high as the most... you've ever got in any quiz, which was the chocolate quiz, because it involved eating chocolate.
Yes, that's right.
You got 6 out of 10. You're elated. Well, I'm very happy for you.
Fantastic.
This is TalkSport.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. TalkSport.
We are the two mics in for Colin Murray on TalkSport with Wick. Smarten up your decking right now. There's 4 for the price of 3 on all value deck board. Now, we haven't got an awful lot of time left, Mr. Parry.
Okay.
We've got to speak to Mr. Hawksby and Mr. Jacobs. But first off, it's time to do listography.
Great.
Now, the chosen listography today, which was sent in to us by Bob, I think it was which England, choose 3 England managers, or 3 managers rather, that could help England out of their current state.
Yes.
Or words to that effect. These can be any manager from any era. They can be dead or alive. And the only thing I would say is we shouldn't pick anyone that has been
already
an England
done the
manager.
job. Yeah, sure.
So should we? I mean, we might pick some of the same names. So do you want to go first with your first?
Okay, I'll go first with mine, which has gone a long way back, but I believe it to be absolutely credible. Herbert Chapman, was the Herbert Chapman was the legendary Arsenal manager. He won the title 3 times with Arsenal.
Yeah.
He then had a dispute. Sorry, it's the other way around. He won the title 3 times with Huddersfield.
Right.
He then had a dispute with the club. He left and he went to Arsenal.
Right.
He won the title
When
3
was
times
this?
with Arsenal in the 1930s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's a legendary manager.
I think it's way too far back.
No. It shows my historical knowledge of great managers in the game. Herbert Chapman would have been absolutely perfect for it. Absolutely perfect.
I'm sure it wasn't the 20s.
No, it wasn't. It was the 30s.
Really?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, I'm going to go with Bob Paisley.
Bob Paisley,
a man who was a fantastic manager for Liverpool.
Yeah.
I mean, he had to follow Bill Shankly.
Indeed.
So, I mean, already
And
he
did
knew,
better than Bill Shankly.
And he actually ended up doing better than Bill
Much better.
This is what I'm saying. So this is a guy who obviously came from the boot room, came from with all that history behind him at Liverpool and Anfield, but was a tremendous manager.
Yes.
I think somebody like him, with the kind of personality he had and his ability as well, would be absolutely the right man to fix everything.
Well, I can't argue with that one. Okay. I would next nominate Brian Clough.
Yes.
And Brian Clough went for an interview at the FA at 18 Lancaster Gate.
He wasn't one of the
premises where I worked, and I'm afraid the Blazers and the old buffoons who were on the council in those days said, we don't want his sort round here.
Yeah.
Which is a terrible tragedy for English football. He'd have made us great.
I know, and because it was unfortunate the way that Brian Clough's kind of life went towards the end. But,
exactly.
I mean, a fantastically charismatic man, a tremendous manager as well.
But I tell you what, it was fortunate for Nottingham Forest, because if he'd have taken the job, he would never have gone to Nottingham Forest, and therefore they wouldn't be double European Cup winners.
Absolutely right. Now, the next one you're going to think is a little bit obvious, but I'm going to have to say Sir Alex Ferguson, because somebody has to say that, because here is a guy who has been probably one of the greatest managers of all time.
I agree.
Anywhere. Has dealt with famous people, has dealt with superstars.
Certainly.
And I think could absolutely rescue England.
But I wouldn't have nominated him.
Why?
Because his heart clearly would not have been in it. He did say, I can't manage the English. So,
I know he said that, but you know that he'd be able to do it.
I know he'd be able to do it, but he may not have the heart. Because my third one, as well, is a bit obvious for me, but it would have been Howard Kendall. Because Howard Kendall was the greatest English manager of the 80s.
Yes.
He won the title twice. We won in Europe. We won the European Cup Winners' Cup. We won the FA Cup. And if Howard had, managed to stay on an even keel, he was knocked right off kilter by the
Howard Keel.
Howard Keel, yes.
Was he not in Carousel or something?
In Dallas.
He was in Dallas as well. He was a musical star, though.
He was a musical star, you're right. Which meant he had to go and pursue his career in Europe, because we weren't playing in Europe, all the Everton players left. He would have made a fantastic England manager.
Yeah. My final one is going to be somebody who I think actually could do it.
Yes.
Because he is available to do it.
Yes.
And I'm going to say Gus Hiddink, because I think Gus Hiddink would be a fantastic manager for England because of the history.
He wasn't much good as Holland manager,
Yeah, but he's been Chelsea manager. He's managed in big clubs all over Europe.
Perhaps he suits club management, but I mean, in charge of Holland, he managed to emulate what Roy Hodgson did. He lost to Iceland.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, losing to Iceland is all the rage, isn't it?
Well, it seems to be, but it's still not a good on your CV.
Doesn't make you a bad manager. But that was listography, of course, for today. We're going to be back with listography, of course, next week, right here on the Colin Murray Show. And also, we're going to be here for the warm-up as well.
Don't forget to come back tomorrow for another sparkling, as fizzy as a bottle of champagne podcast from the two mics.